Okay, I have the entire vehicle plugged in, BCM, amplifier, all the modules except for the HVAC right there. So we're going to keep that accessible in this comb. And what do we have on our draw? Looks like 30 milliamps. That sound actually disappeared. Our network is asleep. Let's see what happens when we plug in that HVAC. I'm just curious. Wow. Everything's lit up. Cluster. 3.2 amps. Insane. HVAC just woke up the entire car. Okay. Let's unplug it again. Make sure we're dealing with the right module here. Okay. Let's see if everything goes to sleep. Look at that. Everything just went to sleep. Cluster went to sleep. Let's see what the final draw is. Meanwhile, I'm going to look up which fuse feeds the HVAC. And we'll try disabling power instead of just disconnecting it from the network. So this might take a few minutes, but again, the data logger logged everything. Look at that. Boop, 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 boop. And then right here is where I just woke it back up. That is super cool to have that log. Now it's 0.3. We'll see how fast it decays. Alright, here we are. Proof is in the pudding. We're back down to that 30 to 20 milliamps. That's the HVAC module drawing that and trying to wake up the network. But we have it disconnected at the star connector. So our draw is basically gone. Now, last step, I want to find the fuse, the constant battery fuse to the HVAC. Pull that out and see what the final draw is on this vehicle. Alright, here we go. Here's the wiring diagram for module AC heater. That's our automatic climate control. And sure enough, we have a constant battery fuse. Fuse 84, 15 amp, fused battery positive. Let's go there now to the power distribution center. Well, there's a 15 amp fuse, fuse 84, 0.2 millivolts. I'm going to pull it, see what happens. Alright, here we go. Pulling that fuse. Let's see if the tea kettle sound went away. It is still there. And our draw is now 100 milliamps. So perhaps that's the wrong fuse. Let's do a little more research on the wiring diagrams. One more thing to keep in mind is the bulb, the breakout box, actually draws 50 milliamps. I wish it didn't because it's so convenient to plug in. I wish the LEDs weren't there. Not helpful. That's why sometimes you just got to probe the wires instead of using like a breakout box. So right now we have 50 milliamps with all the fuses in. I put the ICS fuse back in. Let's see what actually controls the HVAC module, because the wiring diagram was kind of misleading. Okay, so 50 milliamps. I expect one module is awake. That's going to be the HVAC. Now, the discrepancy in fuse 84, I looked up the redrawn diagram, and it feeds upper bank switch, AC heater module, and integrated center stack switch bank module. So let's measure the voltage drop on that fuse one more time. Look at our draw. Take the fuse out and see what the draw drops to. You see it was 90 milliamps, 50 milliamps. Okay, that's a classic module doing its thing when it's not supposed to. So fuse 84. With the meter. Right there. Consistent 0.1 millivolts. I'm going to pull it out again. I'm going to see what happens to our draw. It's got to be the HVAC. Ready? There we go. 6 milliamps confirmed. HVAC module is staying awake. So for me, that's the end of the diagnosis. What do we do next? Look up a new HVAC module. Now you might say maybe that sun load sensor or the recirc door might have something to do with it. Nope. Those codes actually might be set because the module's bad. And we check the door, you know, it moves. Why is it setting a code for that? I think the module is setting false codes here. It's not an input problem or an output problem, it's a module problem. So that's it. For part 2, maybe we'll do the repair if the owner, I assume they want the truck fixed because you don't want to drive around with no heat. Another option is to make that fuse ignition powered instead of constant battery power. What do you need constant battery power at the HVAC module for? I don't know. Or the buttons in the center stack. It's not the radio, you know, you don't need to remember presets. I guess it remembers your old temperature that you set, the automatic climate control. But this is no good. About 6 to 10 milliamps. I like that. And I think we're in good shape. Let's plug in this fuse one more time. And back to our 50 to 90 milliamps. You actually hear the blend doors moving around. You hear that movement? Is it asleep? Shh. Okay. So that was basically a power reset on that module. Now we're still at 50 milliamps. I'm sure it's going to go up to 90 and back to 50. And if we plug in that into the, into the network, it's going to wake everything up. We can even put a scope on the dark green wire before plugging it in and see if it's trying to talk. Alright, so last experiment. 50 milliamps. I hooked up the scope to just the dark green wire going to the HVAC. That's the communication wire. And sure enough, we see activity. Now keep in mind, this is not terminated. So let's decrease the time scale. So that's what it's doing. Now let's pull the fuse and I'll let you guys see what happens. Alright, ready? Three, two, one. Pull the fuse. Boom. Off. Just another way to verify we're down to whatever, 5 milliamps like we were before. And put that fuse back in, it's going to come right back to life. And put it back in. There it is. Back to our, whatever, 50 to 90 milliamps, and then you can hear it go meet, 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 meet. That's it. Needs one of these. Alright, so part 2. I talked to the owner of the 15 Ram 1500, and he said that's amazing that you found the problem and he wants it fixed the right way. So we're going to replace this auto climate control module. It's not too expensive, about 350 bucks at the dealer. Shouldn't take more than an hour to rip the dash apart, install it, clear the codes, make sure there's no draw. Truck should be fixed. He noted that this truck has had 6 owners, and he bought it, and then he figured out why the last guy sold it. Probably because of this problem. So it's been going on for a while, it looks like, but now he's very excited that it'll finally be fixed. So the Ram 1500 with the parasitic draw, we're calling this climate control module. So I went ahead and ordered what I thought was the correct part. And these things have so many modules and they're so integrated that, well, I'll show you the confusion here. So if you go into all data, parts and labor, so controls, there's control module dash control unit with automatic temperature control with dual zone control, that's us. So this 5VD75JX PAD, 315 bucks. Again, go online, they say they're in stock, but they're not. You have to call, and call again. There was a dealer about 2 hours from here who had one on the shelf. I'm like, all right, perfect. Let's place the order. I just gave him the part number, and then I'm like, you know what? Let me just tear the dash apart, make sure we're ordering the correct unit. So I tear the dash apart, and this unit right here with all the buttons on it, you would think that's the climate control module. You would be mistaken. This is just a module with buttons. So I'm looking for the dark green communication wire, and I'm not seeing it on the only connector that's coming to this module. I do see an orange and a white, and the part number, you see that 1UJ97DX9AF? Well, that doesn't match up with anything. Which module is that? Well, according to our wiring diagram on the Ken IHS bus, this would be the module integrated center stack switch bank. Aha! So that's the orange and white wires. We're going after module AC heater that has the dark green and white communication wires. So this center stack module, I ordered completely the wrong part. I gave the guy, called him back. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. Here's the VIN. Which module do I actually need? He gave me the, the part number that matches the center stack. I'm like, okay, that's not the one I need. I need the one that controls the blend doors and all the other HVAC stuff. That module is also maybe a week out, maybe easier to get, but it costs like 3 times as much as the center stack. You can see right there, this one's over 300 bucks. This one's almost $800. He said, yeah, 820 bucks with tax and everything. I'm like, oh my gosh. So to fix your battery draw, you need to pay almost $1,000 just for a stupid module. Like, how can they charge this much for a little box with some electronics in it? And new cars are full of boxes with electronics in them. And a lot of them are in back order, discontinued. I don't know. Sometimes it kind of gets frustrating trying to chase these parts down. People just want their car to work, obviously. But you almost feel like you're ripping the customer off. I know you didn't make it, you didn't build it, you didn't buy it. But it's honestly getting concerning. Let's put it that way. So I'm going to call the customer back. I already quoted him on the $300 module. Now I'm going to have to make another phone call and be like, hey, there was some confusion. That's the wrong module. You need this one. And it costs 3 times as much. So maybe the customer will take my advice and go for the Russian bypass hack, where just instead of constant battery power, we'll feed it ignition power, and you'll just have to dial in your temperature every time you start the truck. I mean, up till now, he had a dead battery every time, so he had to do that anyway. So it'll be an improvement. We'll fix his draw and at least fix that problem. So I still have to find where this AC module lives. Unplug that. And we still have this little boiling tea kettle sound. And that's coming from this fancy screen. A little capacitor in there or something. That's not causing a draw. Not that we saw. But it's a little concerning. It's a pickup truck. It's supposed to be a work truck. For crying out loud. So we'll be back and get the right module, or if the customer says, just go ahead and do the rewiring. Alright, so I talked to the customer, told him, man, this little module is going to be pricey. And he's like, you know what, do your bypass wiring, so we'll just feed that module ignition power to the fused battery power. Just like we did on that Toyota Avalon that wasn't going to sleep in the information center in the, the cluster there. So that's kind of a workaround, but that's what I would do on my own car, because I would refuse to pay almost $1,000 plus diagnostics and labor and all that crap just to get rid of a draw. It's kind of sad. So we'll do that. I'll show you the little, we'll just need to find a fused ignition power source in that fuse box, and on that ATC fuse 84, we'll feed that ignition power instead of battery power. So that's it. Alright, I finally found what we're looking for. This right here, one connector, little plastic box that costs $900, is the HVAC module. So that's the white and the dark green wires right there. And what we can do is, the truck is not going to sleep. You can see the cluster, the needles are lit up. That's a good kind of indicator that the truck is not going to sleep. So right now, everything's plugged in. The comb, the fuse, everything's as is. Let's just unplug this and see if the cluster goes to sleep instantly. And boom. See how the needles drop? There you go. Shut off. We plug the module back in. We do that with this hand. You'll watch the cluster wake up. There it is, lit up. Talking, talking, talking. Hear the blend door. Let me unplug it again. Cluster will go to sleep. Only takes a few seconds. Right there. Shut off. Okay, so if we do the bypass on that fuse, it also feeds battery power to the center stack. So if you want to have your key and accessory and listen to the radio and use those knobs, that's not going to work, unfortunately. So I think what What I have to do here, and the wiring is fairly accessible behind the glove box, is to look at the wiring diagram for the HVAC controller. And here we have two power feeds. So we have fused battery power, and then 10 amp fused ignition run start control output. So can we tie both of these together so we don't have to mess with this fuse, because that's going to affect the center stack too. There's more than one thing on this fuse 84. Now this is 10 amp, this is 15 amp. I'm thinking if we just basically cut the wire here, the red one, and splice it to pin 2, the ignition power, then maybe upgrade this fuse to a 15 amp just so it can carry the loads of both circuits, and we'll hack it that way. I think that should work. So here's our magic box. There's the original part number. It was superseded. Can someone tell me how this stupid little thing, it's light, there's nothing in it, costs over 800 bucks? It blows my mind. Let me take these screws out so we'll see what's inside. Like I said, there's not much to it. Just a few chips, resistors. How does this cost at the dealer over 800 bucks? It just blows my mind. It's criminal. It's what it is. These people, they know people can't live without their air conditioning and, you know, have a battery draw. So is this planned obsolescence or planned extortion of money? I don't see any green crusties or burn marks or anything. This thing's just like a chip failed and it just keeps talking. And drawing is staying on. Wow. So at this connector, you see the red wire and the pink and green. Well, I just want to cut the red wire and splice it into the pink and green, then we'll have ignition power to everything on this module. And we'll see if it works. Alright, here's what we're going to do. There's the connector. Fuse for the red wire is out, fuse 84. So I'm going to cut it right here and leave some lengths to, because we're going to have to splice it into the neighboring wire. So that wire is cut, and now as a temporary bypass, I just want to use a piercing probe to go from here to here, so we'll feed ignition power to the module side of the red wire. That should be pretty easy to do. And we'll just make sure everything works before we do the final splice. So we'll go from here to here. Make sure not to slam the door. Okay. Now we'll just use a jumper. Now remember, this is fused, so making a jumper in this location is perfectly fine. You're still safe. So we'll go from there to there. Let's turn the key on. So everything's still asleep. Let me put in that fuse. This one right here. Our cluster is awake now. You just saw it's going to go to sleep. Boom. Okay, so now the only module that's not connected to the fuse is right here. Now let's see turn to accessory, our radio should still work. Why is this not working? Let's go to ignition. Why is our radio not working? Media. Connect to Bluetooth. See, radio. Okay, now if we turn it to accessory. Okay, great. So that still works. Our tuner still works. Now let's see, HVAC. So I guess the module is offline, so it's like it defaults into whatever. That, turn the ignition on. So let's see, 72 degrees. Let's say we turn the truck off when it's at 82 degrees. We don't want the front HVAC. Let's just set it. You know, let's do fan speed 2, 82 degrees. Let's see, climate controls. Oh, there's climate right there. We'll do face and feet. So that right there is what I have it set to. Now if I turn the key off, that module is going to go offline. Okay, climate off, module's offline. Okay, turn the key back on. Module should wake up. It starts off at 72. And the temperature got reset to 72 degrees. Okay, you know what? That's not a big deal at all. As long as the truck goes to sleep. Look at that cluster. I guess we could open the door, close the door. Don't want to close that door, it'll crush the module. There you go, it went to sleep. So I think that's a perfect solution to this truck to avoid paying hundreds and hundreds of unnecessary dollars. I think the customer will be very pleased, so we're going to do that. Just solder those two wires together, and this truck's done. So guys, that right there is a $900 soldering hack. Very proud of that. Screw the dealer, screw the parts manufacturer, whoever jacks up the prices. We're just going to wrap this up in tape. Truck's going to be fixed, no more draw, HVAC works fine. So now, what I want to do is just swap these fuses around, since this one's going to be carrying a little more load instead of this one. So 15 amp 84 and 10 amp 99. Let's just swap those around. So here's fuse 99. There's fuse 84, 10 amp, 15 amp. Pull this guy out. The owner said he just replaced a fuse box because it was corroded. On a 2015. It's not even in upstate New York. Put that in here. And I guess we can note that on the diagram so people, whoever's in here next time will be like, hey, why is that a 10 and why is that a 15? Well, that's because. Alright, final verification of repair. So default, let's climb it off. If you turn the fan one click, you see default says 72 degrees and it says front defrost. Push that, it'll go to foot. I think that's pretty much perfect. That's the only thing that was affected. It was the memory function of your previous climate control setting. First world problem, right? No more draw. This truck is ready. So the customer was very excited that I could do that little wiring hack there. Totally on board. I would do the exact same thing for anything. Any module that doesn't fall asleep, that's an option. So sometimes it causes a minor inconvenience, but changing the constant battery power to an accessory or ignition power, as long as it's done right, is a viable solution, because these modules, A, are stupidly expensive, and B, are usually on back order. So that is what it is. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. All right, a little bonus footage. Some people might say, Ivan, you didn't verify the repair. What's the draw now? Keys out, I got my ammeter connected. We have 394 milliamps, so the truck just got shut off, and we're at about 240 on the clock. So let's see what this draw goes down to in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I expect about less than 10 milliamps. Alright, in less than 5 minutes we're down to 55 milliamps. That's good. I want to see deep sleep, less than 10. Alright, it's been about 10 minutes. 12 milliamps. Sweet. Confirmed. Fixed. Customer can pick it up. Thanks a lot for watching.